get this show on the road. We're talking about business succession planning and banking. We're super excited about this particular forum and this topic. I'm going to turn it right over to, I guess, Carol, the interim president of the Greater Houston Black Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much. We're so grateful for you guys and all of your hard work at the Greater Houston Black Chamber. And we're so excited to hear what you guys have to share with us today.
Well, thank you so much. And we're very, very excited to be here today. Thank you for TAC. Thank you to TAC for having us today. My name is Carol Guest. I'm the interim president for the Greater Houston Black Chamber of Commerce. And thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to have a discussion entitled Preparing Your Family Business for the Next Chapter. I'm very excited about today's conversation as it speaks to our mission to help Black-owned businesses succeed and build wealth for themselves and for the next generation. So joining me today is a very distinguished gentleman. His name is Javon Sterling. He serves as Executive Vice President for Commercial Lending at Amegy Bank. And some of you may be familiar with Amegy Bank. We'll let Javon talk a little bit about Amegy Bank as we move along today. Javon has had an impressive 18-year career at Amegy with significant contributions to a wide range of bank initiatives. In 2017, he rejoined the Regional Commercial Group and started the South Commercial Banking team. His active business development efforts, community involvement, and leadership were instrumental in the early success of the group and helped build the foundation for the bank's growth strategy in Southwest Houston. He currently serves on the Zions Bank Corporation Access to Capital Task Force. So this is a person that we definitely need to know. And he has played a key role in the development of the bank's small business diversity banking program. So Javon, let's jump right into our conversation. And let's start with this initial question. Why does Amegy Bank focus so heavily on family businesses?
Hey, Carol, thank you for the great introduction. It's great to be here with everyone to talk about such an important topic. This topic, I think, is very important for the overall economy, but it's particularly important for the African-American community when we talk about building families, family businesses, and creating generational wealth. It's so important that there's a plan in place to ensure that there's continuity and succession for these businesses. I'll point first to just the overwhelming number of family firms that make up business enterprises in North America. It's 90% of those businesses, right? And 60% of the workforce is employed by family-owned businesses. So as you can say, this is pretty important to us. But yet, here's a central challenge. Yet less than a third of these businesses will last until the second generation. And only 12% will move on to the third generation. So we have to really examine what is happening here. And Amegy Bank wants to see these businesses succeed. And we have a deep-rooted passion for helping family-owned businesses, not only to get their start, but to grow and to protect their family legacy for future generations, Carol. So this is very important to Amegy Bank.
Well, I agree that it's definitely an important topic. And we want to equip our TAC members with this information so that they can take it back and share it with their respective family members and members of their chambers. We want to see our businesses continue to grow and thrive for years to come. So let's kind of back up just a little bit and talk about how a family business is defined. So how do you define family business?
You know, at first we had a definition which we thought was a little narrow. It was initially, we defined it as 2 or more family members in the company actively working at any given time. But we realized that someone could start a business with all the intention of bringing their children or transferring the business to them, but they may not, yet be of age, or perhaps they're working outside of the business just to gain experience. So now we have a more technical definition, and that is someone who has greater than 50% interest in their company. And this is because someone who owns more than 50% of the business is not only have a level of control over the business, but their wills and their personal estate plan will have a material effect on the business. So that's our definition of family business.
Well, yes, you bring up a great point. Wills, to have a will or to not have a will has a material impact. For those of you listening in, if you don't establish a will, because we are in Texas, I don't know how many different states may be viewing this later, but in Texas is a community property estate. So business ownership shares can become community property. And so that's why it's really important as part of your business succession process to clearly define who will receive the ownership interest in the company. So if you have a will, it can be outlined there along with some company documents, and then, but if not, it may pass through state law. So please keep that in mind as you're moving along. So thank you, Javon, for discussing the importance of that, of having a will and thinking that through, thinking that process through as you plan succession. So now that we understand a bit more about Amogie's definition of what a family business is and why you believe it's so important, I want to discuss some of the challenges that family businesses face. I think we can all agree that running a business is difficult, and then adding the family dynamic to it can only increase some issues. So what are some of the specific areas that you see as challenges that face family businesses?
Yeah, let's start off with the fact that there are three different stakeholders. You have the owner, you have their heirs, and then you have the business. And they may all have different needs. And it's very common that when you start a business, everyone's interests are aligned. And usually what's best for the business is best for everyone. But as you move forward and you see some success and growth, you see a divergence of those interests. And what is best for the company now may not be best for the heirs. And what may be best for the heirs may not be best for the parent who started the company. So that's the first specific challenge that I would identify. The second challenge is, business owners need to understand their own personal financial situation. If you plan to give your business to the next generation, you need to know if you actually can do that. Do you have a financial plan in place to provide you with sufficient assets and retirement cash to part with the business without receiving any cash remuneration in return? What are the tax implications? If your business was covering cost of certain lifestyle expenses, such as vehicles, life insurance, healthcare, or even memberships and sponsorships and subscriptions, will you be able to maintain this lifestyle? So that's the second challenge. The third and final challenge is balancing what's best for the business with what's best for the heirs. The owner understands their business and what the business needs. So he or she now must grapple with how to transition to family members and how that would affect the business needs and the current employees. So those are three challenges that I would identify.
Well, that last point is a huge one. And I'd like for you to expand a little bit more on that topic for our attendees. When you're trying to determine which one of the heirs should run the business, how do you do that?
Carol, that's a great point. The very term succession, if you think about the technical definition of it, it just carries a misconception that one person in the next generation is being selected for some kind of genetic coronation, regardless of whether or not they're fit for running the business or whether or not they're ready. And because of these challenges, we found it helpful to really include the concept of continuity into conversations about developing robust and transparent succession plans. Our director of wealth planning really asks business owners to separate what is equitable from what is fair. If you have one business and three kids, and you try to split the business three ways, it may be equitable, but is it fair to the child who may have put in years of hard work, sacrificing other employment opportunities to be a part of the family-owned business?
Yeah, that's definitely a touchy subject, and which leads me to this next question: how would a business owner equalize the transition of their business when there's more than one heir involved?
Absolutely, Carol. This can be tricky and require some thought, but it's usually best to have one person in charge. As with most parents, we know our children's strengths and talents. So sometimes when you take a closer look, there may only be one child or family member with the interest and the aptitude to run the business. There may be ways to equalize the inheritance without splitting up the interest of the business among all peers. As an example, you could gift other personal assets to the other heirs, or you could use life insurance as a way to equalize the inheritance. So this goes back to the importance I stressed earlier of having a personal financial plan because it can have a material impact on the transition of the business.
Mhm. Well, it's usually best to have one person in charge. That makes a lot of sense because you don't want to have conflicting viewpoints and directions going one way to the next way. But sometimes the business owner who started the company just has a hard time letting go, and there's overlapping in leadership when that person decides that they're supposed to go and there's a planned exit, but they're still kind of hanging around. Um, so why should that business owner think twice about it?
You know, Carol, clarity is the number one reason why we caution against this. It's really best to reduce the number of years where a company is jointly owned. The owner does need to let go of the reins at some point once the decision is made. The staff and the business partners, they all need clarity. And the owners need the autonomy to take the company where they see fit, even if it's in a different direction. So it's important to have decisions come from one person and not have the previous owner as a shadow. Again, this can confuse employees and business partners. That makes it really difficult for new owners to succeed. So I would really, they must think about what's best for the business.
So, I mean, this is really good information. And, some people are just conflict averse and they delay making the decision. And it can be delayed for a while. And they just don't want to open that can of worms. But, how soon, realistically, should they begin transitioning the business?
Absolutely, Carol. We really think it's best to start thinking about the transition at least 5 years in advance. There's so many issues to consider, like you mentioned, and you really want to allow yourself time to think through these issues and communicate these decisions to your family members, your key employees, and your key business relationships. Businesses and families both need consistency. So the best thing to do is to take your time with this with this change to avoid problems that could have been avoided. And the first step for the business owners in this process should be getting a personal financial plan in place. If you've had all your money tied up in your company, it'll be extremely hard just to give the business to the next generation.
Well, I I can see how having your money tied up in one place can make the decision even more difficult. So are there things that someone who's considering transitioning their business can do um, in preparation for that? And even if they're not planning on selling or transitioning their business, are there basic things that should be in place um, in preparation for that day, even if it's further down the road?
Sure, these are best practices that I would recommend business owners start building a team of tax, legal, planning, and investment professionals. Your financial institution can help you with those, um, establishing some of those services and relationships. Have conversations with your spouse. Put together a personal financial plan, which will help in the decision-making process. We talked about having assets outside of the business. Some of those assets may include 401k, Roth IRAs, investments in real estate, mutual fund investments, a wide variety of alternative investments are available. So we recommend starting to diversify the asset base, really to give yourself options when it comes to gifting or selling your business at a later date. You need to have assets outside of the business to sustain yourself personally. So when you do turn the business over to your heirs, those options begin to narrow when you have to sell your business for maximum value to maintain your lifestyle.
And planning in that way, making sure that you have other revenue streams, especially those revenue streams that make money while you sleep, like we like to say, can make the transition a lot easier, make you feel more secure about making that transition as well. So let's we're talking about succession, within the context of the family, but what about that person that doesn't have heirs? But it's looking like it's about that time for the person to leave the business. How important is it to look at your staff and get them ready for succession to the next phase of life?
Yeah, Carol, I think businesses should be built for sale. They should be built with the end in mind. In order to maximize the value, you have to start early by having the appropriate levels of controls and financial stability within the company. You have to surround yourself with the professionals to ensure that you have all that's necessary to create a valuable business, whether or not there's an heir from the family member to take over the reins. The other option is to sell it to a third party, and that third party will evaluate the quality of what they're purchasing, and they will look at quality of earnings. They will look at procedures. They'll look at the level of staffing. Is the business reliant upon one person to generate all the revenue? If one person leaving the company, then there goes the value, right? So we really recommend that. So most of these recommendations are really best practices, regardless of whether or not you have a family heir to take over the business.
So what would you say is, what's the importance of making sure that the business is well managed? Because there could always come a day when you have an heir that was interested and then they're not, or the heir decides to move overseas and just doesn't have access. So can you speak a little bit about the management of the business, how important it is to make sure that your people are properly trained?
Absolutely. Commonly, we see business owners who are excellent at their craft, and the details of running a business are learned along the way. But the great news is that these details can be learned. Typically, we recommend that a business owner embark upon an annual or periodic strategic plan, have a vision for the business, and ensure that all the actions of the business are centered around core values, things that are important to you to ensure that the business continues to deliver a level of service that can last. There also needs to be policies and procedures. How do you record transactions? How do you hire and retain and train the best and brightest talent? How do you compensate them? How do you deliver great customer service? Those are some essential training topics that a business owner can build into their routines to ensure that the business is properly managed. You also have the financial reporting responsibilities, ensuring that there are proper advice being provided by your financial tax professional, and ensuring that you have sufficient capital in the business. All these things cumulatively ensure that a business is healthy and enough for sale, and also sustainable to pass on to a family member.
And I'm glad you were able to articulate that so well, because in succession planning, all of these items are key. Wouldn't you agree to that? I mean, because you want to pass on a healthy business to your heirs, or you would want to leave a business for those employees and management who are interested in continuing the business on if you don't have a capable heir. So thank you for articulating those things, and being a banker involved in the buying and selling of businesses. I'm certain that you look for those things. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Our goal is to become considered trusted advisors to our business owners. Every client, every commercial client has a banking relationship manager here at Amegy, and we invest in our relationship managers' ongoing education, so they are prepared to identify those opportunities to recommend best practices, and whether those services are being provided by the bank or a core group of professionals who we have relationships with external to the bank. It's so important that we're in a position to provide value and advice. So we do position ourselves as trusted advisors.
So how does the bank, you spoke in general about some of the things that the bank does. So what are some of the specific offerings that you provide to family businesses? How do you help them?
Yeah, family businesses happen to be a core of ours. It's how we started the bank. Walter and Yvonne Johnson, 30 plus year history. We're part of Zions, which has a 164-year history as a family owned business. And over time, our clients just kept asking us questions and asking for how to help on how to pass along their most prized asset to their most prized people. So several years ago, our leadership sat down and decided we need to really equip all bankers to help them to help with these issues. And so Amegy has formalized a training program that helps our team better spot the issues these families are facing, as well as offering up better ideas and solutions that can directly benefit business owners. It's a natural extension of the services that we're already providing. We have a special relationship with our clients and coming up with creative financial solutions as part of that relationship. But to successfully transfer a business, it requires so much more than just a loan. And we understand that. So we want to be able to provide that extra value for our businesses.
Well, you've said, you've given us so much wonderful information. So how can our listeners get in touch with you or with anyone else at Amegy Bank to assist them with business succession or any other business related issues that they may have?
I would recommend visiting our website, www.amegybank.com, where we have uploaded several videos and tutorials on the topic of family business banking. So these are very accessible through YouTube or through our Amegy Bank website. Spend some time reviewing some of the content and determining what's most relevant. And then you can find a branch that's close to you to speak with a banker. All our bankers understand that we're the bank for family-owned business. And so we encourage everyone to reach out and connect through our website. And always, you're welcome to contact me. As you know, I'm a member of the board of directors for the Greater Houston Black Chamber. And so I am a resource to our members.
You absolutely are. So we thank you for your time today, Javon, and that's all the time that we have for this part of our presentation. And before we go into the question and answer session, I'd like to admonish everyone to please consult your own tax planning and legal advisors, as succession planning is very, very important. And we're offering this information strictly for your information today, but please do so and speak with your family members as well as you're going through the process. So with that, we hope you found this information very useful. And does anyone have any questions at this time? So I'd like to thank Javon again for his time. Please do visit Amegy Bank's website to get all of the information that that he mentioned, so that you can educate yourself and get started as far as business succession planning is concerned. Again, reach out to your tax advisor, contact your attorney, get your team together to make sure that you're able to create a plan that works for you and your family. And some key takeaways, in addition to those things from today that I noted, was that you have to start early. Start early. Don't decide in 30 days you're going to leave the business, but give yourself a few years to get your plan together and to talk with your advisors and your family members about what's going to happen next with the business. So, TAC, thank you again for this opportunity. My name is Carol Guest. I'm interim president of the Greater Houston Black Chamber of Commerce. And everyone, please enjoy the rest of the conference.